Okay, so the next day, Christmas Day. Let's get to doing some more diagnoses on the 357 here. Wow. Pretty short threaded bolts for that. Guess it doesn't take much since it's just going in the sheet. No, actually those are pretty good threads. Yeah, one frame. Well, we have valve lash. Oddly, the intakes. That's the one that backfired out of, but it feels fine. The exhaust is a little tight. Let me get set up with some air pressure and we're going to check for leaks. I'll be right back. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I bought this compression tester from Sears years ago when they were still a viable company. And the quick connect they use on it is the same quick connect for the air hose, so you can also use it as a primitive leak down detector. If I remember right though, you got to take that core out of that. Yeah, it's not going to pass air, so you got to find a valve core tool. And I had the tool for years before I ever even figured that out. Just got to studying it one day and it's like, well, it screws into the plug hole. And that coupler looks the same. Alright, let's see what we got. It actually turned the engine over. I was at top dead center. And the 100 pounds of air pressure turned it over. Alright, so I'm going to have to come up with a way to lock that in place. Yeah, if I had a third hand, I could just hold it in place. I think it is coming out of that exhaust. I didn't feel it coming out of the pipe, but that's the side it sounded like, and if you saw when I touched that, it just evacuated. So that may just be a little too tight. Because there's no lash in it at all. This one, and yeah, that's a sloppy fit, but that's exactly how that Jiang Dong. Okay, as I was saying, the Jiang Dong, the other Chinese motor, has the exact same setup. In fact, these Chinese engines are almost all identical that I've seen so far. And they did a sloppy job on the rockers where it flops back and forth really easily while still having the proper lash. I can tell this one is probably right around 10,000, and I'm guessing that's where it's supposed to be. This one here has no lash at all. Doesn't feel terribly tight, but then again, look how light duty these springs are. I can push that in with my finger rather easily. So it probably doesn't take a lot to mess it up. lock nut and an adjustment nut. Oh, they both spun. I think that might be tighter than I realized. Yeah, that took quite a bit of backing up. That's pretty close to the other one. But yeah, you're supposed to be able to break this nut loose from the bottom one. Should use 2 wrenches. I didn't, so I ended up cheating because the bottom one moved with it. But you're supposed to break that loose, adjust that, and then snug that one back up to it. Alright, let's get you back over here. That was my third hand. Yeah, I only took the recoil off so I could manually turn the flywheel while looking at the valves and the piston. Not a necessity, just a little bit of convenience. That's really not any better. Yeah, I think that head's coming off. I don't think there's a way around that. Gotta know what's going on down there. Kind of getting that deja vu feeling. Almost like I've done a lot of generator work recently. That's okay. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes there's a reason it's free. But either way, you can't lose because you can't gripe too much if it was free. It sure beats buying somebody's junk after they've told you, oh yeah, it's real good, just needs this or this, just to find out you bought total garbage that should have been free. Kind of like something else you might be familiar with on my videos. I'm surprised that valve, as tight as it was, didn't really change the compression any. But then again, tight exhaust valve wouldn't explain why it backfired out of the carburetor. That sounds like either the intake valve is burnt or not closing. Great. Or that could be timing related. Maybe the flywheel key sheared. But since we're also dealing with a very low compression problem, it's more like a Honda. I'm inclined to think the problem's in the top end. Unfortunately, like I've showed in the Jiangdong, these heads are actually pretty easy to pull. I'm sure I'll speed up or cut out some of the video because there's not going to be like anything really interesting about pulling the muffler off. I guess it didn't hurt taking that off. It's kind of interesting. It's got a removable magnet. There's a screw in the middle of it. Interestingly enough, though, when I did research on this yesterday online, it looks like it actually is a 3500 4000 peak generator, which I would not have expected, because the front panel just has one 120 volt 10 amp plug, and I don't mean one duplex, it just has one plug. So I thought that would mean it was pretty light duty. It does have an RV plug, so maybe they marketed this towards RVers. Don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but just by matching up the 6.5 horsepower generators to okay, keep getting interrupted today. So anyway, matching the 6.5 horsepower Champion engines to that front panel, I came up with a model number, and I found the manual, which I will link in the description. This is one of those sets that skips 13, because 13 is not used very often in their minds. But 14 is included. Yep. Okay, so now I get to interrupt myself when I go hunt up a 13mm wrench that's not used very often. Be right back. Last time those were too tight for the impact. Not that one. That one is. Yeah. Quarter-inch is pretty light duty for this kind of stuff. Yeah, I need something bigger. That wasn't coming off with a quarter-inch wrench. Jeez. That one that came off was seriously under torqued. Bring it in for this. See if I can prop that higher. Got a board in here. That'll work. Okay. That plastic carb spacer is entrapping the plug wire. And I broke that gasket too. That's just dandy. Okay. Oh, that's right. I heard something fall, but I think one of these push rods is supposed to have a little cap on the top of the valve. Oh no, it was just one of the guide sleeves. Yeah, the piston looks alright, a little dirty. You know what? We have a blown head gasket. See that? Look at that. That's why it didn't feel like the compressed air was coming out of the exhaust. But that is the side where the exhaust was, so it sounded like it was coming from there. Yeah, that's cooked pretty good, so they ran it as long as they could till the compression got so low. Because, yeah, that's not the gasket. Funny thing is that this was the corner where it had the loose bolt on it. You think you would have thought it would have been on this side. That side was loose, and yet it blew over. I am so on a roll today. That last clip ended abruptly because I ran out of memory, and while I'm realizing that I'm out of memory, I blow the breaker back here. So I had to go reset the breaker and grab my cell phone. So now I'm recording from that, because I'll just finish this up real quick and then tack this onto the other footage. So obviously I need a head gasket. Right there on the left, you can see the burn mark that matches that burn mark. The fire ring is still intact, but the gasket material's burned off of it. So something must have been defective. What I'll probably do, just to play it safe, is clean that material off, clean that off, and run a straight edge across both of these surfaces to make sure they're not warped. I guess that is a possibility. That could be why that one bolt was loose enough for the impact and the other three weren't. But anyway, that's just speculation. I'll check that for sure. Then I'll have to look around and see who sells these head gaskets. And of course, while it's apart, I can clean the combustion chamber and the top of the piston. That actually doesn't look that bad, considering the hours this thing looks like it has on it. Okay, I am going to wrap this up. I will bring you back for part 3 when I have an update on the condition of these parts, and if they're good and I order the head gasket, get that ordered. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. I'll talk to you on the next one. Later.